Okay, so it's the middle of the night and Stella's having that. Boy, she's in a bitch fit. But so she's gonna definitely interrupt. But there was a bunch of things I wanted to talk about. One of the things, because I was just sitting out here and I started looking on TikTok. At first, my internet wasn't working, and I saw this nurse talking about stuff that's going on. And so then I was like, oh, I got to go record about that because it's just completely exactly what I was talking about, the way that the system and the people who are trying to hold on to their jobs. You know, I mean, I hear horror story after horror story in every aspect, like going out to dinner, going to the store, everything, you know, any interactions you have with people that are still out there trying to participate. It's weird. And how it's going to keep falling apart, and it's going to continue being horrible interactions. And another thing too, that TikTok has become popular is like all these people keep going missing, so people keep going on TikTok trying to find with outreach. And I just saw a sad one, a young girl looking for her mom who disappeared in Hawaii a couple weeks ago. And from what I understand, Hawaii has got a lot of stuff going on, like they're, you know. So, anyways, it was weird because it just had a flash, but it's got one of those things on there. I was just trying to see, because that's a little mirror, right? It's weird how the camera goes right there. That's a mirror. So the reflecting light is because it's totally dark in here, except for the TV has the whatever binaural tunes on, and they have the weird optics, which I swear to God, right now I was thinking, I think the best description of how I feel is like, so wheezy, is if I was like a movie or a book, like a book, and someone's just doing through the pages like that. That's what I feel like. Like, it's weird how I just keep going through all of these. It's like, I don't know, just feelings throughout my life or something. I don't even know. It is very weird because it's almost like, I don't know, is it like a constant deja vu over and 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 over? I don't even know how to explain it. It's strange, like how, I mean, I feel like this world is so different than what people think, you know. It is, I swear to God, it's the grasp that we hold on to. It is what gives it life. It is, and the more you know it's not real, the more it's hard to hold on to. And, but there was some things that I wanted to talk about. One of the things was this woman, she was talking about her and her husband, he wanted to go buy her a new car. And so she went, and they were looking at these new Subarus. And the salesperson, once they knew they had a teenager, starts trying to market them on all these great new features that they have in order to control the car from their kid. And as the woman is like, she knows all the conspiracies. And so everything that he would say, you know, and how great it was, she would say, you know, the other part, because it's the government being able to control our car. Like, said, it keeps you in your lane. She said, unless they want to speed your car up and flip it over and stuff. She was funny. So anyways, a lot of people are putting all of the stuff together, you know, more and more people, you know, are seeing, because that not only is it the hard push on get rid of these, you know, old cars because they want more control. I mean, and, you know, I mean, we should be back in the steel cars if we're going to be in cars. There's no fucking reason we should be driving around these plastic computer chips. It's ridiculous. Just so they can get, and it is all what I was talking about too with the vessel and the control. You know, we step out. It's like, as conscious beings that are under control, we step out. And then as like the parental controls, like, well, you can only go so far. You can only do so much. We were overseen. Big brother's got their eye on us at all times. And, and you know, and the whole thing is, it's just now coming out because, I mean, this is, like we are living in like this past. Like we are living in this past that is controlled, but is so far ahead, because like people who, are putting together like the false history with the words, the maps, the people, all of this different stuff is a big thing that they're talking about is America is actually Egypt. And when you start seeing all the evidence of that, it's like, what the hell? Like, when they're going to lie about the planet, lie about everything, lie about, what country's called what. Like I had already said, like I had heard about Africa is way, way bigger, that there's parts that aren't even, and like there's parts where like how people talk about the Antarctica, supposedly there's parts of Africa like that, like, it's the outer lands somewhere that is so far out where there's other beings and stuff living. I don't know. Like our whole reality is so fake. It's so manufactured. There's a hair tickling. So manufactured that nothing is real. Like it's so weird. It's like the world isn't real to begin with. Then they sell us this fake world. So then the fake world they sell us isn't even real. But it can't be real because the world's not real. The whole thing is just so mental. But like there's all sorts of things about the Mississippi, the Nile, the different places, like Cairo, Illinois, or something. Like there's weird shit. And this whole thing with Lincoln talking about the farmers in Egypt and Illinois, and just all sorts of stuff. Like, the people, I'm telling you, the people who are really into that part, they're interesting. Like they are doing some hardcore research. And then how much of our research is just from the libraries that we're allowed to see? Like it's all so controlled. Everything of our whole existence is completely controlled. And just like with the cars, like so we take our first steps, and they want us in schools so that they can start, programming our minds. And they're not programming us to be better. They're programming us to be efficient for little slaves, so they aren't ever teaching us to be independent. And even the words, like I just saw somebody with this whole thing with they're constantly, well, we're a democracy, we're a democracy, we're trying to be all this democracy, like how he says that non-fucking stop. And so democracy is the opposite of what you want to be. I saw a thing, an older politician, this was really old footage, would have been like from the 60s or something, it was black and white. And it was like, I don't know, senator or somebody. And they were talking about the difference between a democracy and a republic. And that the republic is, and then you just get that all of a sudden with the Democrats, the democracy, the republic, the Republicans, where it comes from is different. But republic is the human rights, or it's more based on the right, and then the democracy, it takes rights away because it's about the group or something. I'm not sure how to explain it, like how he did. You'd have to go in and look for the footage or whatever. But anyways, I think you just gotta, search, maybe just man talking democracy, republic, or something like that. I always just put in keywords like that until I find something. But anyways, how he explains it, yeah, they're trying to get us, they're trying to program it into our mind that we want a democracy, but democracy is the opposite of what we want. We want our freedom. And that, I think, is what Trump was constantly trying to get us to understand. And so much of this stuff, like when you think about the stuff that he had said and everything, and there's still people trying to figure out like if he's a good guy or a bad guy. Same with Eli. They spend so much time wasting trying to decide if someone's good or bad. They're both. Everyone's both. Whatever part they're playing right now, it doesn't matter. The focus needs to be you. I don't know why people keep focusing on like Trump and stuff like that. Like, however it's going to play out. This is the thing, too, that they make it so clear to me. I definitely don't know how to explain this right. But however it plays out, it's already happened. It's already written. It's already happened. So it's going to play out exactly that same way. There's no going around it and being something different. And so in that case, it doesn't matter about the good or the bad, or why waste so much energy on that? It's a distraction. It's so you're not facing yourself. And this time is not going to continue forever. Like, you get a set time to transition, to heal, to find yourself. There'll be more time for healing. But, all of this stuff is to show you. And it was tripping me out yesterday by last night in the evening. My daughter's the one daughter who was like, tell me what to do, tell me what to do. How then by the end of the day, she had made some decisions for herself, and how good she was feeling, how she was seeing. Like, it was like it took her in. I'm telling you, when you do, it is like you step through a door and you step into yourself. Even if you don't see, even if the whole room's not lit up yet, you just entering that doorway opens your mind and opens things up. And that is, I think, is what is the important part right now. And, my oldest daughter, I'm holding faith on the whole thing about how much healing that she has done so far. But one of the videos I was listening to last night about the about how we're just all, Cabbage Patch Kids, and the programming, and how some are super programmed, and their life will revolve around the programming, which is the TV. And then that is something with my older daughter. I had said, like, while I was there, they watch a lot of reality TV, which is very much gives you parameters on programming of your own behavior. Because like I said before, is when you're sitting there watching them, what it brings up is like, oh my God, I can't believe how stupid they are. Oh my God, I can't believe they did that. Like, it gives you a line, but it is all, what is that word? It's like, it's propaganda. It's like they're going to pick these people just to do that, to bring that up in you, and to set a really low standard, so it's like they set a really low standard. But anyways, but then, for some people, it's going to help them turn on their thing. So I still think, my oldest daughter is going, because that one guy, he was explaining the ones that are the most trapped in the programming are going to be the ones that don't wake up. You hear all these different people talking about the people who aren't going to wake up and stuff like that, which I don't know. I've thought that most people are going to wake up. And then, when you see some of these people who are still working in their behaviors, and the behaviors that people are still continuing, that's being asleep. Because, years ago, and it's only gotten more, is I started seeing myself in everybody. And I would say it all the time. Like, we'd be watching something, and I'd be like, does that person look like me? And my kids would be like, oh my God, you think everybody looks like you? And I kept looking at them and be like, yeah, but there's just something, I don't know. And I kept doing that all the time. And I have found myself, it doesn't matter if it's a young girl with a big giant round face sitting there talking about her trauma. I see myself, and my big round face and my trauma. And then I see, this older woman, who has a crazy hair and too much makeup and is, just being herself. And, she's this, like, other side of the coin of me on one hand, but she's just like me on another hand. And so there is, like, I don't know. It's hard you just start seeing yourself. in everybody. And that gives you so much more compassion and empathy. And it's just part of the process. I know it's part of the process because, you know, I mean, the stuff that is happening to me, it's been consistent and I've been paying attention, and it starts happening to other people and stuff. So this is just part of the awakening as far as I understand or, you know, think of it. And, so was I saying all of that stuff that I want to do? I don't know. When I start skipping around, then I don't know if I finish my sentence. And then I, I was even trying to remember what I even talked about last night. And I was like, man, I just go into this thing where I'm just trying to listen and, you know, and stay focused on, talking and being, you know, saying whatever it is, whatever I'm seeing. But this thing that was really getting me to want to talk this morning was this nurse. And so she was a traveling nurse, which I was like, oh, I bet you a lot of nurses right now are just doing traveling nurse. Traveling nurse is hard anyways, because you get taken advantage of, and you have to, like, every place runs different. But so she was talking about, she's been doing nursing homes this whole time, since 2020 started, since this whole thing, when she started doing all this. And so she's a nurse for 10 years right now. And so when it all started, she was a nurse for 7 years. But so she started doing traveling and going into nursing homes and stuff. And so the reason she was speaking out today was she said that last night that she had gone to work at this place, and they had 63 patients that were all positive for the Dovik, and they gave 2 nurses for the whole thing. And so she was like, you know, people don't realize, like, these places, that they're corporate owned. They are cutting all corners, all costs. They're not giving any stuff. Like, you can't get anything for these people. Like, the people who are putting their family members in there, they're not being taken care of. And they are understaffing them. They're trying to kill them. I mean, obviously. But it's the same thing in the hospitals. I'm sure they're completely understaffed. But so she was talking about the how they keep saying, like, there's not enough what was it? Something, whatever they're doing, they're manipulating about that there's not nurses or something. So they're saying that there's no staff or no nurses, but there is, but they are just trying to cut corners so that they just short patients and short patient care and short supplies. But see, that is how it was always going to go down as the system was collapsing. This is the kind of stuff I was talking about, that it's going to be just falling apart, it's going down. And then the people who are in there trying to hold it together, it's going to affect them the most because they're trying to hold it together. But it's not, there's no holding it together. And, you know, and then they have to constantly be pushed with their own ethical questions. You know, she said she's tried turning places into the board. Nothing happens. She said she showed up one night to a place. They tried to give her 52 patients by herself with one other staff member. She said she saw so many things, like what they're doing is, you know, is, like, people trust Western medicine for their health care, and it is a corporation that is just trying to make money off of you, and it wants to make money off of you for being sick and not anything. You know, they're creating illness to make sure you get sick. I mean, they're not leaving it to chance. They are doing it on purpose. And then, you know, and they want to kill off the history, and then you can see why they lie so much about it. I just saw another thing too. Like, I don't know, like, about whatever during our whole age, I think it's all been about lies and manipulation. Like, I think that they're, like, I don't think things go into other things, like Egypt, you know, back where the pyramids, like, I don't even know all this stuff about Egypt, America, but it's a whole thing about America was Terra. Terra became the tuck. It was something with the words, which then just kind of slid into America. But, I've seen where people have showed, like, down at the Grand Canyon, that there's all this hieroglyphic, I can't even say that word. You know what I'm saying? The writing on the cave, writing and stuff. And there's other things. There's parts where you're not supposed to go, where people are saying that they think there's still people there. So, and that is the thing, like when you realize that there's realms and realities and how these people have control over this certain space and certain portals that they move us through and how they want to have more control is the supernatural or the other realities or whatever you want to think of them as. Are they scooting them into a smaller space or something? Why they're trying to compact us in? Because part of the new thing about the controlling the cars and stuff is that they've put out a thing about for climate change. We would only be able to travel 15 minutes. So you get like your core, your nucleus home, which that is going to be very controlled. And then they say, well, you can go to the store, you can go to a job. They have like a star kind of thing, like 8 places you can go out to. Like, I don't know where they're saying you would be going out to. Like, I don't go out to just, but you'd only be able to go 15 minutes from your home. You're not allowed to go anywhere else. And if you try and go past your perimeter, they'll just turn your car off. Well, I would just walk. Well, and then they're just going to have a little thing. You pass the blue light and you're just going to implode, I think. Like, I don't know. I've seen that in movies. So, their plan is all about control. And there is a whole thing about vehicle and consciousness. And I know, like, even when I start, like, while I've been awake and I've done these long drives, because in the city, when you're driving, you got to constantly be paying attention to so many different things. And, but when you go out and you drive, like road trip, drive a long ways, where you're just driving, especially on a state highway where you don't have a lot of traffic. Because if you go and do a road trip on an interstate, you still have a lot going on. But if you go to a state highway, but then when you can focus on the drive or something, I don't know how to explain it, because to me, a lot of this stuff just happens naturally. It's not like I recognize a step. I can just tell you this stuff is happening. And, right now they're changing the wording of psychotic. And, I'm psychotic. So they are, trying to manipulate that, because the people like me, they think that they can control, I guess, the people waking up. But by calling them psychotic or whatever. But so when you go out and you drive like that, I have been like where I feel like I am, like the car's an extension of me. And as, what I've heard about like aliens and crafts and spaceships and all that stuff. And when you look at like the disclosure stuff, because then you see like about this craft that was found, and then there was a chair in it, and when the guy sat in the chair, it is like it was the craft was like organic. It was alive too. And so, and it's controlled with your mind. And that is something about this whole thing with this quantum move that we're making into this other system is going to be, about our minds and stuff. So we're leaving one system and we're moving into another system, but it's a more advanced, highly sophisticated technology. But you have to, as your soul, as your consciousness, you have to also advance. You can't, you just can't not advance. But anyways, when I have felt it, I think that is, how I even noticed that one when I was driving and all of a sudden I got in that like bubble, that time bubble thing with those other two cars. It was so cool. Like I can see that all the time in my head. It was so cool. It was like something out of a movie, the way it was all of a sudden, and then how we were like moving together and how the sound and everything changed. And then all of a sudden when somebody broke free from it, the sound like popped. It was really cool. But it was trippy. It was when a lot of this stuff happens, it kind of trips me out, especially like when I've been driving and I feel like that I could just take off in the car. And I just know that there's a whole thing about our movement, the way we move, all of it's all about their control, and this limiting us all the time, always to keep us limited. And it's just funny too when you watch that show Kindred, because it's all about slavery and the control over their movement and everything in their life. And then there's a lot of slave owner people who thought they were doing good. They were doing good for the people. They were giving these people homes and stuff. And all these people had to do was work and listen. They treated them like ignorant, and that is what happened with so many people. Was even on this one part when a doctor is talking to this one woman who they considered a witch, because she used natural stuff, and the way that they would talk to them like they were just savages, like you're just savage, you just use leaves, like that is how they changed it to get us to be like into Western medicine. And I mean, it's right there in that show, which, so much stuff in the show, you don't even know if it is, how much of it is just to continue the manipulation. It's all based on fake history and stuff. There's a part where this one man grabs another man's junk, and the guy from the future like freaks out, and I don't know, was that just a thing back then? But the women, they like the men would sleep with their mammy ladies or whatever, their how they would look at them. It was really kind of sad, like where were their parents? Like I don't know. There's weird stuff, like how all these people like were like, especially the men being so obsessed and then wanting to sleep with them too, like it gave them comfort. It was like, man, there was some messed up stuff. But the women, oh my gosh, and they were just like hysterical and screaming. They're always showing that in the past with women. And I don't know. Was it always, or are they just trying to make us believe that because they're trying to always market women as being helpless and stupid? And there's stuff with the babies and stuff, because now their huge push on just baby labs, and then people have to ask the ethical questions, as there definitely don't need to be 300,000 baby making lab. We got that many people who want to go buy a baby. And, how many of these people who go down there and buy a baby, are going to use it. God damn. Oh, this world is so disturbing. God damn. Fuck, this is... I'm going to be so glad when shit goes the other direction. Like, this is so heavy and so dark. Yesterday, when I was talking to my one daughter, who is now moved into more, like, real spirituality, I think, and not just the, get your crystals, and more of, realizing that the healing is coming from within. Once you start doing that, it's just going to keep opening and opening. But, she had said something like, well, it's all in, like how you look at it. No, it's the manifesting, what was it? It was something how she looked at it, like there's different ways you can look at things. And how she looked at it, like, because for me, as a person who believes in fate and destiny and everything is predestined, like there's no control. I can sit here all day long wanting something to happen. I can't want it and make it happen. It has to, there's more than one thing going on. For one thing is you have to know what you deserve. And so you have to, whatever your manifestation is. And there's a lot of people who, don't want a lot, but they can't get themselves to think they even deserve that. So whatever your manifestation is, you have to know you deserve it, or it's yours. So you have to trust the universe. Where does this desire come from? Where does this come from? This trajectory that you are trying to become in alignment with in your manifestation, because there's a reason your manifestation, like you're not just making stuff up. It's a communication. So in fate and destiny, it's the whole thing why I say about the soul contracts and stuff, because it's all contracted. It's all predestined. It's all written. And so you can maybe see ahead and know what's to come, but you can't force it to come any faster. And to me, when you're talking about like the stuff in life, when you're not happy, like right now, like how life is going, I could sit here all day long and be sad or be scared or cry or be like there's all sorts of ways that you can deal with whatever is happening. Like just think about Anne Frank. I just think she's such a good role model on the whole thing. Even if stuff is happening you don't want to happen, do you make the best of it, or what do you do? And so that to me is when things are negative or bad or, not what you want them to be, it's your attitude towards it. It's how you look at things. That will determine how you feel in life. If everything is negative, everything's a downer, you can't believe this and that shouldn't happen and this shouldn't happen, then you're always feeling bad. But when you, to me, seeing like, oh, it's all destined, this is what's supposed to happen. Everything happens the way it's supposed to happen, when it's supposed to happen. And I'm not just saying this because I heard some words and it made sense to me. No, it's because I've paid attention. I've interacted with the spiritual world, throughout my whole life. This isn't a new thing to me that the spiritual world exists. It's new for a lot of other people, but it's not for me. And that's something that just crosses my mind every day, I think, is it's just, it's weird. But that to me, I've already gone through the flipping the upside down, because I've spent my whole life knowing about these things. And then you try and talk to people and they couldn't see. Even when I would try and talk to people, like my mom or my sister who, consider themselves Christian, and Christians understand you have a soul. They understand there's a separate, your body's one thing and your soul's another, supposedly. But then when you go and you try and talk to them about soul stuff, it is, so it is, I don't know, everything is so controlled. That is what I just didn't see. I just didn't understand that for so long. I really, when you go through your whole life being called crazy and all of the stuff that they would call you, because you said aliens were real and ghosts were real and all that stuff. Like, it can sound ludicrous at this point, but no, I mean, literally, I have been called crazy so many times, and not just joking around crazy. Like, people really think it. And now, like they're putting it out on Google. They changed psychosis into people who don't see this reality like the way that they tell you to see it, and people who think the government are out to get them or something like that. Like you can look it up, psychosis on Google definition or something, and apparently they changed the definition. You can look it up on I don't know if you look it up on Webster's or something, but something has changed, whatever they're doing, to now just cover it, and that is one thing, as I've tried to help people wake up on a lot of the stuff I say, in their definition, I sound crazy. As soon as you start saying that there's a language happening in the music, and the TV is talking to you besides what the show is going, that there's people talking in your head. But there is a lot more talk, though, about people talking in their head. But it's a lot of it from the darker thing about the MK Ultra and how they're talking in people's heads, and they're getting people to do bad things and stuff like that. So, that is getting people to understand more, because that is going to be opening people's mind to question, what is all this going on up in here? Because it is always communication going. The only time there isn't is when you're doing just self-chatter. I think the self-chatter comes from stress, and you just like override. It's like you start glitching out. I think fear kind of promotes that kind of glitching out. As soon as you start feeling like everything's going to go wrong and you have to control it, and then it starts feeding into your emotions. And so everything, there's so much of the whole system to get mastery over. And well, one of the things that I was even talking about with my daughter, and she was talking about her guy, is how when somebody starts escalating, then they even say, like, I don't know how I can't get control of, why I keep getting madder. It's not like I want to get madder, but, there's the whole thing. We've got to retrain ourselves. As soon as you start feeling your emotions moving around inside of you, you got to be on top of all of it. You got to go in, and talk to yourself. Talk to your emotions, talk to your guidance. And, it's like talking yourself off of a ledge. That is everything. Is like you become your own self-soother in life. Really, you are constantly talking yourself off of a ledge. It's you who has to go in and talk logic to yourself and get yourself to manage yourself and not be out of control. Oh, and that just reminded me too of a commercial that I just saw now with some new freaking some new diagnosis, of course. I don't even remember what it was called. CP hormone, something with kids, hormone problem with kids. And so now they have a new 3 thing, and you can just put it right in under your skin, an implant, to regulate your children's hormones, because they've jacked with them so much through their fucking chemicals and their hormone blockers and shit and food and everything, that now kids are needing it. I don't know if they're starting puberty too early or they're starting it too late or whatever, because before it was all starting too early, but now they jacked it up and they're doing something else, because they're just constant experimenting on us all the time. And then when you think about, like, oh well, we're just we're lab rats, we're like the white mice. Was there just dark mice, and then they did something and it extracted the color and then made white? And then I just saw a thing where talking about all these different fruits and vegetables and how they're all manufactured. They're not even natural. Like, how much stuff do we eat that isn't even natural, that we think is natural? But they do so much manipulation to the original thing that it is just starch and sugar and stuff. So they're doing manipulation to our food to make us sicker so that they can create some pills to sell us, like, fuck. It's just so much. And then it is it's going to be nonstop with the people who are trying to continue. I mean, it can be, anything from a DoorDash driver, going and picking up the order and being outraged because there's roaches everywhere, to nurses having to show up and then, you're supposed to take like 60 patients. At the nursing home, I don't know. I worked at a nursing home for a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months, and it was after my brain injury. I think it was one of the first jobs I got again. Like there was a whole problem. And so when I got that one, I think I worked there a couple months, and oh my gosh, I struggled so hard. But that is where I met another girl she had a car wreck, and she had a brain injury for 2 years. So she was working with the brain injury, and she said it takes 2 years for it to heal. Well, mine, that it will heal. It's however much it's going to heal in the 2 years. That's how much it's going to heal. And, I know that there's some things where I feel like that there's improvement on mine, but still, like, I open the fridge and it's like, oh, I didn't know I had that. I opened my closet, like yesterday, I went and put on something. I was like, oh, I didn't even remember I had this. Like, all the time, something's new to me. I don't remember that I had it. So I still have some things, with my memory. And I'm sure, there's no way, recognition, I still have a problem with that. And I just watched that movie where that girl had that. She got a brain injury, and then she couldn't identify faces anymore. They just move, they change. Like, you can't, it's weird. I don't know how to explain it. But the woman who was trying to teach the lady, she was teaching her to look for certain things, like find like markers or something on a person's face to help you identify. But when you're just meeting people and talking to them out, and then they meet you again, then they think you remember them because they remember you. But I've just had a lot of awkward conversations, and I don't mean anything about it, but I just don't remember. Like, it really is so much with my brain injury is being in the here and now, and but there was something else that crossed into my mind when I was saying that. But all this stuff is gonna continue. With the people being outraged over what's going on as everything is falling apart around them. And it's going to keep falling apart. There's no stopping it. And, the hardcore push to collapse our dollar. And, to so many people, it's going to look like a horrible thing. And it has to happen with Joe in there. And there's way more stuff, too. Like, more people I was seeing with talking about these beings that are all around us and stuff. That there's something with, I don't know if it's prophecy. I don't know. There's so much stuff that I keep seeing, but something about 2023. And so what some of these people are explaining to us, so as this separation happens, so as you're choosing your path, or the light or the dark, so if you're going towards the natural or the artificial, depending on which direction you're going, and the energy you're carrying, like I had said, that they are monitoring something about our inner, about how we see things, about how we look at things. Like, I don't remember how I was explaining it yesterday, but it was something like that, like how we move through our lives, how we wake up, how we are affected, like stuff like that is how I was picking up what they were watching. And then with this, is that they're monitoring kind of where you are, and that they're going to take some people's bodies or something. And I don't know if some of the people are leaving them and then they're just going to take them. I don't know all of this stuff that people are talking about, but in 2023 this is supposed to go down. So a lot of people coming in with their prophetic stuff too, and it is very much the people seeing the same things about 2023 is going to be super intense. It's going to be more intense than this because it's going to be a lot of violence and a lot of anger, a lot of truth. It's going to be a hard year for a lot of people. And so, and we're almost there. And so I think, anything could happen any day. Like every day still, but I've been for so long, get up and look like hope. And this morning when I had no internet, I was like, oh, well, maybe it's starting. And then I was like, for a minute, I was like, huh. So then I won't be able to record and then nobody will know. So like, what if I'm the only one that doesn't have internet? Maybe they have internet. Maybe the only thing, that's so weird because we're all so isolated, kind of like that. Like what they're trying to do with the storms and stuff, and the amount of storms that they have going on people. Like right now, it's, man. So I don't know. If I don't come in and record that, it would be why. Is because there's something with my internet is down. And so if I'm not recording, because I've got nothing to do right now. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not doing anything. I'm not preparing for Christmas. To me, all that stuff is just like, I don't know. I just want to get through this part. And what my big thing is, I feel like probably my biggest thing is, to get to my truth, to get to my purpose, to get to my mission. I've been doing all of this stuff, like laying the groundwork and stuff. Like there's stuff that they show or tell me about that whole thing. But, like this morning on my TikTok, I get up, I had two notifications. It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd, you know. And on here too, like I'm telling you, I will see where I will get a notification go across my phone that says that I've got a message, and I'll try and read it. So then I'll go in to open it. I can't find it anywhere. It's nowhere. So, whatever they're doing about manipulating messages, and then somebody I think has said that they've gone on other accounts and stuff, and I don't maybe messaging people and people aren't answering, but they're doing something with all our accounts. Because it's not just mine. I'm hearing other people say it, and that always gives me confirmation. Like that one lady who was like, oh my God, I've got 30,000 followers, and you're telling me that I've got 100 views and stuff. It's like, it's ridiculous. You get 100 views in the first hour, and then it just stops every fucking video. And a lot of them, like I have ones that have 23 views. The numbers don't work. It doesn't work. It is control. It's censorship. And so that is the thing that I look the most forward to, is being broke loose from this control that is so much about my voice, about my being able to speak out. I feel so controlled and manipulated, and it's frustrating, especially with your whole internal is guiding you in a certain direction. And then I just have to keep trusting them that they're guiding me, not just to be frustrated. Like there's a purpose to it. So that is what, I am looking forward to, is that, and the Jubilee, because then I'm going to start getting more stuff done. Like I've got so many plans of things I want to do, and it has so much to do about having, it's not rental properties. It's not like that, because that's another thing that's blowing up in people's faces too. People who have rental properties, everything, We just have to shift the whole way that we were doing things before. But what I had heard about a while back, like in 2020, and I can see this too, is the traveling. People are going to travel a lot more. People aren't going to work. People are going to go out and travel and want to see the world and do things and meet other people and stuff like that. So I even heard that there's going to be like places the government is going to just own and open up, like for travelers just to go. So I want to do like that kind of thing, so it helps where people can go and travel. And I may even do like in a travel club or something, so you have like a more vetted system. I don't know, there's going to be a lot of stuff that is going to go on about that, but that is what I want to because over where my daughters are, even in Yakima, where all the farms are, I was like, because I want to have a place where I can go over and be with them, and not have to stay in a hotel and not have to stay at any of their houses. So get my own little place. And but I want to have property. So then I was like, man, I could get a piece of property. And then right after I was thinking about this ad came on for these Tesla houses. In their, because before the Tesla house ad I had seen, I was thinking I could get those train carts or whatever. Probably a lot of them for sale, and how many of them are going to be haunted by all the people that they've transported in them. But you know, those big things that they were selling. At first I was thinking about getting that and making a house, as I've seen some really cool ones that people have done. But then this thing came on for this Tesla house, and it's like a tiny house that is like a box house. It's like all of the stuff folds up. It's all like pre-made or something. It's like $10,000, and it's even, you can transport it. Like you could put it on a trailer or something and move it around. So I don't know if it can be set up the whole time while you're moving around. I don't know all the stuff about it, but it was $10,000, and I was like, man, that would be perfect to have. Because all I would really need is a bed, a bathroom, and, if I wanted to heat up my tea or whatever, I wouldn't be there doing a whole bunch of stuff. And so I was like, that would be perfect. And I was like, man, I could get a few of them. If I got a few of them, I could start renting them out to migrants, because it's a migrant farm place where people come in to work. The farm's only seasonal, and they don't want to have to pay for a house all year. So I was like, man, you have those. You could set up like a whole little village on your piece of property with all these little tiny houses. I could even put in a pool, make a whole thing. And I could even have where my grandkids would be able to come and stay there, like, so they could visit their moms and stuff. So I was having like this whole thing. It's so funny too, is that even when I was telling my daughter some other thing, she's like, you're always going like so far into stuff. And it's like, I'm a creator. I can't help it. As soon as I see something, it's just like I just create the whole thing. So I was like, man, I could make a whole, like, my own little village, almost like what like a trailer park used to be. Like somebody put in a trailer park. There was a purpose to some of this stuff before it all started getting used and abused and stuff like that. But so putting little houses where they don't have to, they just have a place where they can go and sleep, and then have a social area so they can interact. And, a lot of the migrants are Mexican anyways, and the Mexicans love to go out and play music, and they're very social. God, I love that. And so I don't know. I was like, man, I could make a totally cool thing that would be self-sustaining, because it would, you could even do a whole thing with the laundry thing. The people, they can do their own laundry, and then at the end of their stay, drop it off at a laundry service and have it delivered back or something like. And that is where I was talking about, where other businesses will start forming around our new way of being. Like, a simple job like doing laundry for people who have, traveling lodges or whatever. There's all sorts of stuff That is, and that was one thing that my daughter was talking about too, is like people got to stop going and trying to get jobs. They need to focus on their own skills and make, what was she calling it? Passive income. And that is what I was talking, that's how we started talking about, because I was like, yeah, that is what I mean, like where it's making. And I told her too, I said, just with the YouTube. So even though they're holding me back and censoring me so hard with the, on any platform that I'm allowed on, which is only 2 right now, is, and I'm so held back and censored. But once the thing switches and goes the other direction, like it's going to be really fast where my accounts would be. I don't know how you start making money off of accounts, but apparently you do. So I don't know how it all works, but you start getting paid for views or something. And but you have to have over 100,000 views, which I've got way more than that. And then you have to have 1,000 followers, but they keep holding back on my followers. They won't ever let their get. So when it switches and it goes the other direction, that is going to be. And so I was saying, all this work that I put into that is like 1,700 videos just on this one. And then if there starts being people who, once they, let my account be out there somewhere, then you start getting views. That right there. So I've been setting the groundwork. So it's like, that is the creation of passive income. That's what I've been trying to do this whole fucking time, preparing this place so that it can be self-sustaining. It's making its own money so I can go out and travel. I don't have to just sit here and do this all the time. I can go out and have other experiences. And it's the same with, doing this. It's like setting the groundwork for what's to come, and I know what's to come is going to be different than what it was. And I don't even know, are we even going to have this same thing? Are we even going to have like YouTube where people are making money off of it? Maybe it's never going to happen. But whatever is going to happen, I know that the universe is going to turn around and do that energy back to me, because it's whatever energy you're putting out is that's the energy that's going to come back to you. So if I'm putting out energy where, I'm freely giving information, I'm not ever telling anybody, pay me to coach you, pay me for information, pay me for your future knowledge or anything like that. I'm constantly telling people to connect to yourself. Everything you need to know is inside of you. And, there's other people out doing other things. So whatever energy you're putting out is the energy that is going to come back on you when this thing switches. So that's why, I've been mindful of that. Like I've been aware of it, because my guides have made me aware of it. So I have known, and I've tried to make sure to tell people, how important it is, but there's so many things that people don't understand until they experience them. It just sounds like a bunch of foreign words being spoken until they experience it. And then once they experience it, then it's like, oh, now I get it. Now I see how that works or what that means. And so, that is what all these different things happening are teaching us. They're helping us. It's not hurting us. It's helping us transition into this quantum state of being, into this new world, this new creation. So, and I know for sure it's not going to be corporate run. There's not going to be jobs. Like right now, their jobs are ending anyways. But it's going to AI, and that is happening. They keep laying people off and laying people off. Walmart now is saying they're going to close all their stores because they can't handle it, because they're robbed too much. I just saw footage of another place. This one was Seattle, and this was a traveling nurse, and he was in a store, and just blatantly, a homeless person just in there filling their bags, and then just walks out of the store. And the nurse says to the employee, like, don't you do anything? And they said, no, we're not allowed to. The last person who did got fired. And the person was like, just couldn't even believe it, asked some more questions, left, went to another store and was getting something and started talking to that guy in that store because it was a little mom and pop shop in Seattle. And he started saying, because the other one was like Pentagonia's or something, like a bigger store. And so, like a big supermarket. And then this was a little shop. And so he said, something about the stealing. And he goes, yeah, they do it all the time. And he goes, well, that's got to be killer on your insurance. And then he goes, well, my insurance dropped me this month. And, I mean, what is happening to all business inside of the cities and stuff is going to keep going that way. Any kind of businesses that people are trying to hold on to, anything that people are trying to hold on to from the past, it's the past. It is already gone. It is literally the people trying to hold on to it is why we even have it here. Once people let go of it, then we're going to start moving into another thing. But it's a little big process to let go of something that you think is real. I mean, just like with those men, like they would put in these other young black girls, because they felt comforted. But it's so weird. But it's like the same kind of mentality of this holding on to something that gives them comfort, and it doesn't make any sense. Like this system gives them comfort, but the whole thing is just bizarre. How people can't see that this is like, it's not good for them. Well, I guess they are seeing, it's part of the process. That's part of the outrage when they're like, I can't believe it, I can't believe it. And I'm just seeing so many, like, all school things, hospital things, medical things, like all different, where people are saying, there is just, I don't know, there's just something that is a total, it's like a total disconnect. It is like exactly that. It is what they created these little droid people. They purposely were trying to disconnect them from their soul, from their internal guidance, from it all. And and you can see, people holding on to a system that gives them comfort. But we're going to go into a new system. The people who are ready for a new system, and it is going to be quantum, and it is going to be, a faster moving. Like, I think everything about how we move is going to go so much faster. When I was talking to my daughter yesterday and she's showing me the baby and stuff, I was like, I'll just be so glad when we get done with this, like, what did I call it? Like, we're living in this old-fashioned world that the world is way beyond where we are limited. And, but I was like, man, I wish I could just go out there and get my little egg and just zip over there. I could be there, real quick, instead of having to, get in my car and drive this jalopy over the pass. I just know that we have a lot simpler, easier ways to travel that are being restricted. And it's all the limitations that they keep in our mind and our psyche, and all of the doubt that they create. And to even go to the extreme, like, because as people wake up, you're gonna feel crazy. You've been told that this stuff is crazy. You're gonna feel crazy going into a world that you've been told is not real. And it is real, no matter what they wanted to tell you. I've seen it. It's real. It's been real the whole time. And there's nothing to be in fear of, because these beings and stuff are always around us. You've never been alone. You can never get away with anything. I've said that all along. So, where people are starting to think like, oh, now, no, it's always been. You were just sleeping through it. So, anyways, I've been talking a long time. Hopefully I said some stuff that made some sense, though. Yeah, the world is just going to keep falling apart. And I know for people who are working and have bills and stuff, like, I'm fortunate that I have disability insurance and Social Security. But, that could end at any second, and I just know the choices I would make at this point in this reality is like, well, I'd get a tent and go find somewhere to, that would go somewhere where it was warmer. And right now, man, fuck. This winter, they really mean to wipe out some people. Like, who knows how many people have really been killed throughout this. I'm sure at some point, we'll have a lot more numbers throughout this whole war of how many people were killed. I'm sure it's a lot more than what we think, because all of it, every domestic violence outbreak in someone's house is all due to the manipulation. Everything, everything that is wrong in people's lives is due to the manipulation, distracting them from the truth, keeping them unstable, keeping them out of balance, and the manipulation on our place. Like, I swear to God, the other day when I was outside and I did all that raking, I was like, this feels like it's spring. Like, I feel like I just did my end of winter cleanup, and the yard looks all so great, like it's early spring. And then I was out there yesterday with Stella, 'cause she was harassing me. I went out there, and it's so funny too how the neighbor now, he's out doing all his, but my ferns were growing. Like, there's stuff growing, and I was like, okay, this is just weird. Like, I swear to God, they are jacking with something with our time and stuff, and something with the manipulation of the not the color, the light and the dark. Just like on Truman, when Ed Harris said to turn on the sun in the middle of the night, they do something. And I saw footage, of the other people now, like, trying to show that the moon is missing. And as they're talking about it, they're like, they keep telling us that it was this full moon, but the moon keeps being full, then it turns this, and then it turns to something else. Then it's just doing all sorts of crazy stuff, and then disappearing and stuff. So people are all seeing like how wacky everything is in this, it's all just created. But I think I swear to God, I think there's something with chemicals. Like I said, I feel like they put us to sleep sometimes. And they do something with the manipulation of time and stuff with the seasons. Like, I don't know. It's just everything is so off. And it's not fucking climate change. And there's certain things that I just don't think some of that stuff would happen. I don't know. I swear. It just seems like there's an underlying, just like when I would last year when I started talking about that there was two skies, and I kept saying there's this sky, there's this atmosphere they've put, but if you find a little hole, you can see there's a whole nother sky behind it. Like that there's this two skies happening. And it is kind of the same thing with they're creating this whole atmosphere, but it is it's just the same thing. It's just this created world. And then, I don't know if they're doing something, they put us to sleep, and then, we think it's been a night, and then they just give us these dates, and I don't know. I swear to God, I don't know. The whole thing is so disorienting. Everything is so, that is maybe why I feel like I'm just having my pages flipped somehow, is because it's so disorienting. Even when walking around, and when I keep going and sitting on the toilet, I feel like my toilet is moving. I feel like it's going like this. And like I don't know. I feel so disoriented. Like everything is just, it's all falling apart. I really don't get how people can hold on to it. Like anything that gets taken away at this point, like just let it go. Like you lose your job, let it go. Just be like, okay, well, let's just see what goes from here. And start thinking about what you really want to do. How do you really want your life to play out? What is it you really want from life? Don't stress out like, oh my God, I got to get another job. Where am I going to work? How am I going to do this? What am I going to do? I got to get a car. All of this stuff that you're being is taken away from people. It's because you don't need it anymore. Things are changing, but you got to just relax and allow it to happen. You don't have control. Like people think that they have control. They can make it be a certain way. No, it's destined. It's going to play out the way it's going to play out. It's always going to play out the same way. There's nothing you can do to change the outcome. The outcome is destined. It is written in the stars. It has been written since time began. It's since your time here as this, it was written. It was contracted in. So, to me, just the best you can do is just relax and really focus on mastering your emotions and mastering your outlook and working on, what holds you back. So anyways, I'll talk to you later. Bye.